Joyous greetings and welcome to Law and Life Matters, brought to you by SABWiL, South African Women in Law. I am Masavala Mutimele, and today I'm so excited. We have with us Leah Molatseli, who is a legal tech and innovation specialist. Now, the thing about legal tech is that it is a fairly new practice in South Africa. So today we get to go on this journey where we learn, and we are just students of Leah in the studio today. So a brief summary of who Leah is. Leah is a lawyer, a legal tech and innovation specialist. She obtained her LLB degree from the University of Free State and her LLM from IE University of Spain. And her LLM was basically, the topic was a master's in legal technology. Leah is also a renowned and proficient speaker, and she is also an author of a book called Legal Tech Startups and Innovation. And last but not least, she is also a philanthropist. Welcome, Leah, to Law and Life Matters. How are you today?
Great. Thank you for the invite. I've been excited about this. That's probably why I've been hounding you.
Thank you so much. These days we all just try and do as much as we can with the time that we have. So we are really, really, really glad that you could finally take this meeting and things aligned for us to have this meeting. Leah, your pinned tweet, it says, I think career moves are no longer linear. You can reinvent yourself and your career depending on your passions. We no longer have to follow traditional routes to do impactful work. Now, I love that quote. It resonated so much with me. So on that basis, I just want you to please describe the trajectory of your career path in 3 words.
Jeez, how do you even? 1, passion-filled. 2, impact-filled. And 3, just being happy. And I think that is very, very important, because if you're anything like me, you tend to personalize your career. And not necessarily that you get obsessed with it, but I mean, it's your life. You wake up, you do what you do and come back, but most of our time is spent at work. And so I needed to find a way that would resonate with my personal passions and what I believe in and the type of impact that I wanted to have with my law degree. And, hence that quote to say that, not all of us are meant to either, be in corporate, get admitted and stay in corporate, or be a prosecutor, or whatever it is that we have come to know as the traditional routes as lawyers, Mm-hmm. And you can actually literally shape out the type of career that you want depending on your passions. And that's what I've tried to pursue.
That is so profound. I've never heard a legal professional use the word happy to describe their career trajectory. It's a first. Taking it back. But I love that you said passion filled. It's so wonderful to hear that. So how did you end up in legal tech? How did you discover that, okay, seeing as I'm not going to be one of those who ends up as a prosecutor, as a lawyer who's in corporate or academia, how did you then find this particular field called legal tech?
So I've always been sort of different in the sense that, I was the lawyer who went to work full of colors, not mm-hmm. in black and white, and and I always thought different, And so oftentimes, if you box yourself and try to think that your genius is okay within a certain parameter, oftentimes it can actually literally depress you. So while I was in corporate, I've always liked things. So I'm a mom. And through that, I started a business. It was a nanny business.
Mhm.
And then I met, other startup founders. And then that's when I discovered, there's actually a life outside of traditional employment, And once you get that hint of startup founders, there's absolutely no way that you won't be inspired to live outside of your traditional whatever that you're in. So in any event, while I was in, it really wasn't resonating with me, and I decided to leave. So I then started Lenoma Legal. Initially, I knew that I wasn't going to start another firm because obviously, in terms of our regulations, there were certain limitations that would literally box me in, which is what I was running away from. But I knew that I loved the law because I understood the impact that it has on ordinary citizens, and more so because of my exposure to startup founders and their need for accessible legal services. So initially it started as a consulting firm, but then it transitioned to a legal tech startup purely because one day I needed to see a client physically. This was when I was still in Bloom. I needed to see a client. I couldn't see them. And this was back before, COVID and so forth. And then I suggested to the client, hey, let's Skype.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily the client agreed. And then after that, I realized, hey, I actually don't need to leave the house to do what I love doing, to help and give advice and, make money and still be able to be present as a mom, because that's very important to me. And that's when it hit me like, oh, okay, this is possible. So I went on to Google, like, how can I do this? And then I discovered the concept of legal tech. So legal tech is not necessarily like a specialist in the legal space like criminal law or civil law.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually it's the use and development of tech for the legal industry as a whole. So in essence, it's just a way that the type of technologies and processes and innovative systems that are created to enable lawyers to do better. So that's when I discovered, oh, there's a different way of doing law. I can still deliver legal services, but differently. But then, as you correctly said at the start of this, legal tech is still very new. Well, at that stage, it was even more new. So I needed to learn more about it. And that's when I coined the term, okay, I'm a legal tech and innovation specialist. I coined it even before I was, but I knew that I was going to dedicate myself to understanding it, to teaching myself and other people. Hence the book, hence the teaching, hence the tweets, hence the spaces, hence the writing, hence the articles, literally hence everything. Because I understood that if this can shape how I do law, then obviously this can literally shift the industry. And so it's been my own tiny little mission. I don't think I've actually made that much of an impact, but I hope one day when I look back, I'll say I have. But beyond actually doing the work, the core of it is continuously educating the market, exposing people to the opportunities available to say that, hey, there actually are other spaces that you can thrive in as a lawyer. You don't have to do that. It doesn't mean you're a failure or less than or whatever. It's just that you're built different. And so you don't have to conform to the traditional space. Yeah.
I hear you. I'm surprised that you actually coined the term before you actually knew what exactly it was that you're going to be doing and how you're going to move in it. How long have you been in the legal tech industry? When was it when you actually founded Lenoma Legal?
It was 2016. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So since then, it's been a journey.
You have been doing it for quite some time. So
Mm.
for those of us who are not familiar with legal tech, I think the closest example of what it is could be what the High Court is trying to implement now, which is case lines. So in the Pretoria High Court currently, they have a system where cases are run. I think it started just before COVID. Um, Cases are run through a legal technological system where we upload all like notices, pleadings, and things like that on their system, and then they generate dates, and they just update up until all the way up until trial stage and getting a judgment. So I'm just explaining that bit to anyone who might be listening who's like, what the hell is legal tech and how is it applicable to law? So that's what the High Court is doing. But Leah has been working in legal tech, and she came up with a device or a website, or she can clarify for us what it exactly it was, a service where you could get onto the internet and download all kinds of useful contracts within the South African legal context and be good to go for your startup. And then she also she also authored a book that is called Legal Tech and Innovation. So for startups, as she was explaining, it's something that can be really, really useful. So my next question to you, Leah, is legal tech about efficiency, like efficiency when it comes to the law, or is it about reducing costs? Because I mean, I imagine if I don't have to go and see a lawyer to access some of all these services that you've managed to pioneer, then I'm going to save costs. So what would you say it's about for you? Is it about efficiency or reducing costs?
I'd say that it's about both because you know when people start and they're all philosophical about the law that hey, I'm going to change the world. Actually, legal tech for me, and I know we have our own ways within which you can change your world.
Mm.
For me, I found that legal tech was my route into changing how things happen because it doesn't only touch, for example, case lines. It touches your practice management software, how lawyers work. And the more efficient they are, the more faster they're able to do things, the broader they'll be able to actually assist the person on the ground, people who look like me. Because whether we like it or not, the system sometimes is skewed. And so when you can find a way that literally each and everyone can get access to affordable and accessible legal services, then why not? And there's really like the space is extremely broad. So it's not just court tech, which is what you referred to. There's practice management, there's contract management, document automation, contract reviews, there's e-discovery, and it continues to evolve. And I think what I love the most about it is that it continues to evolve, so at the same speed of tech. And so it gives you the opportunity to actually do what you're doing in a more efficient way as an attorney to actually enable you to literally do legal work. Because I think sometimes the fear, particularly from a cost perspective in the traditional space, because obviously it's based on an hourly model, is that, man, if I can get the system and it can help me draft a contract that would usually take me, let's say, a day, now it takes me 2 hours, what's going to happen? What about my fees? But here's the thing, the upside of that is that it enables you to actually do legal work, the actual work that you studied for, instead of focusing on the administrative side of it. That's the first. And then secondly, it also opens you up to help more people at scale. And that's the thing that I love about tech in itself, because in as much as Lenoma, when it started, it was just focused on South Africa. Before I transitioned, we had actually also scaled to Lesotho. So the solutions are literally broad. I mean, when you look at legal tech companies like LexisNexis, I mean, if you're a lawyer, you know about LexisNexis. That is a legal tech company. Juta, that is a legal tech company. And so you're actually able to scale justice. You're able to scale those type of typical solutions to help lawyers, who in turn, the ripple effect is that it helps people. And that for me is literally my driver. Even in terms of what I do now, the ripple effect of the type of solutions that we're building at Legal Interact is that ultimately the people who benefit are the end users, people who look like me, people who are trying to run businesses, but more efficiently, more effectively, and so forth.
Thank you for mentioning software like LexisNexis. I want to get into the aspect of being a Black woman in this space. I thank you for mentioning it because we don't normally associate such big and useful brands with the brainchild and excellence of young Black women. So could you please tell us a little bit of what navigating that space has been like for you? Because we can honestly say that you've been pioneering all the creations that you have managed to come up with so far. How has that journey been for you as a young Black woman?
In truth, it's been very lonely, I must say. Well, initially, when I started, because of the industry, where we were at that stage, I was one of the very first few, making noise. And so the people that I would be reaching out to were foreign people, from the US, from the UK. So most of my day ones, from a mentorship perspective, from a guidance perspective, are foreign people, because obviously they had advanced. And they were able to, actually, give me advice in terms of, oh, okay, you need to push this or do that. But as it continued, I mean, the same applies, whether in the legal space. I mean, I have stories and stories about, being young, being Black, and being a woman, and the type of treatment that you not only get from your colleagues, your male colleagues, but also from clients. There's that perception that, just because maybe you're a mom, that you can't deliver. Maybe because you're young, you can't deliver. So there's this constant need to prove yourself. And literally the same, when you look at the representation in tech itself, never mind legal tech, for us, it's still low. So for me, I've always focused on the mission. So I think that really saves me, because I think sometimes, and I know it may sound naive to someone on the outside, not to, focus on, but I'm Black. But for me, it's about the mission. So whether I do it at Lenoma, at Legal Interact, or at another company, it is my core belief that legal tech can actually create a positive impact. And so wherever that I am, that is what I push. And so that has really allowed me to transition. When we talk about careers not being linear, literally shifted from traditional law, small firm, big firm, to startup, and now I'm in corporate, So, that transitioning and so forth, but it also gives you a nice perspective, because sometimes when you're too linear, you lose insights, critical insights. And that is why also people like me matter in spaces like tech, in spaces like law, because of our experiences, because we bring different perspectives, diversity into what is not only being built, because ultimately most of the consumers are people who look like me, but also from a innovation perspective, because you really are shooting yourself in the foot if you're a company and you're not looking at people who look like me, because our differences and our backgrounds actually contribute to some of the innovations that you see.
Yes. Yeah, always stay focused on the mission. So and what is it that you do now at Legal Interact?
So I am head of business development, legal tech. So in the traditional legal space, we could say that I'm no longer a practicing attorney. And as much as I wasn't practicing at Lenoma, now I've literally stepped outside of law in terms of service delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do, so Legal Interact is a legal tech company. They've been around for like 40 years. So they build legal tech solutions for the legal community. And by that, I mean for lawyers. So we have practice management solutions. We have solutions for, so the guys that are working in debt collection, we have a solution specifically for that. If you're trying to manage your billing and fees, we have a mobile app for that, for lawyers. Mm-hmm. We have stuff like Matter Manager, which is a comprehensive matter management solution for in-house legal teams. So now we're talking corporate. We're talking about contract management, because sometimes, especially with contracts, people focus more on the pre-signature stage, negotiations and so forth. But once it's signed, it's like they forget, Yes. But there's certain obligations that are tied to those contracts. And so through, one of those solutions like Contract Manager, where you literally takes a few minutes for you to upload the contract. Artificial intelligence is used to extract relevant data from it. You can literally tap and say, oh, okay, 3 months from now, I have to do this. So it literally reminds you that, oh, okay, I need to be able to do this, just so you're compliant with the terms of the agreement. And that becomes very, very critical in corporate spaces.
So your small law firms, medium-sized law firms, and legal consultancy companies and corporates, they're the ones who would ordinarily gravitate towards using the services at Legal Interact.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So tell us about your book, Legal Tech, Startups and Innovation. What was the process of writing it like, and what do you hope people take from it?
Oh, geez. I wrote that at such a difficult time. At some point, I was editing that book on my phone because my machine died.
Yeah.
People see the results, but they never see, the process. But the intention behind it, like I said, when I started coining the term, well, for myself, legal tech and innovation specialist, was because I also understood my market, that lawyers function from a position of credibility. So you can't come in here as Leah and say that, hey, there's legal tech, yeah, and then like, who are you?
Yeah.
And so part of the strategy around that was aligning my personal brand to a publisher like Juta, that is, respected within the legal industry, to say that, oh, okay, I mean, if they can support this type of initiatives, then it sort of makes sense. So that was one. But then secondly, it was also around educating the market. So when you get a copy of the book, you'll recognize it's very introductory, because I understood where the market was at. I understood that before you even get into the nuances and details, you have to put them on a certain level. So it's very introductory from a concept perspective in terms of explaining literally what legal technology is, how literally broad it is in terms of the different categories, the type of technologies that are at play, and not only in South Africa, but, around the globe, but more so on the continent. A lot is happening on the continent. And also navigating around, different concepts that actually startups are incredible, very hard, but they're incredible because they actually are challenging traditional business models. Because, I mean, if you as a business can go to a website and get a legal contract as opposed to going to an attorney directly, you're changing the game. And it's the same. I mean, when you look at startups by people like Yusha Davidson, they founded a startup that actually helps with like billing, billing from a post fact, when it goes to taxation and so forth, like navigating that and decreasing the costs. So instead of having, to spend all that money or all that time, being able to use that type of tech in order to help. I mean, when you look at people like Grace, who founded Lumalo, which is literally like an artificial intelligence chatbot, you just push your question into it and then it answers you. it's incredible. So it's literally shifting how people perceive the law and how they interface with the law, and challenging traditional law firms that, you cannot keep going the way that you're doing because the world is changing. Also, the market has evolved. The internet is around. People also shop around. They shop around for legal services. They also shop around in terms of efficiency. When you look at things like, if you're making it difficult for people, one, to get access to you, but two, get updates on their matters and so forth. So, and which, by the way, tech can help with. So yeah, man, that was really the rationale around that, to say that, startups have arrived, and you need to start, as a lawyer, rethinking, and not only from a traditional space, but even literally as a student, like, where are you going? Like, the world has evolved. You look at what's happening with case lines, and I know now, in as much as it is continuing, the judiciary is transitioning into a court online system. Obviously, it's been piloted here in Gauteng, but the end goal will probably be to transition it to the rest of the country. So that makes me think, and that has always been my argument. If we are held to a standard as attorneys that you need to be up to date with the law, with whatever area that you're in, you also have to be held to the same standards when it comes to tech, because it has an impact in terms of how you deliver legal services. So there needs to be, some form of push, and for you to actually be competent. I call it tech competency. And so you need to start thinking where you are, wherever you are in your career, especially the ones that are starting out, how you want to position yourself. And are you actually, taking up courses, empowering yourself that you're actually able to fit into the market, and not only just offering an A+ degree, okay, you got your degree cum laude, and then what? What else are you offering into the market, and how is it actually going to contribute to, if you're looking for a job, to your employer, if you're trying to start something for yourself, how is that going to actually improve things, not only for you, but for the market that you're trying to serve?
It sounds like you're basically saying, okay, here's legal tech. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to grow? How are you going to find out more about how it can serve you and how you can use it to serve people, the public? I love that. Do you think people are hungry for it, or do you think it's not growing at a pace that it should be? What do you think is the tension there between traditional law and the fast tracking of us as lawyers, firstly, and the public using legal tech?
Well, for me, look, if we were having this conversation pre-COVID, I'd say, geez, it's a bit slow. But now, what I've seen, and in terms of how much the market has grown, the type of different startups that are at play, so you see people, particularly lawyers, opening their minds up. I mean, there's a girl building an analytical tool that could actually help in terms of predicting cases, labor cases. I mean, that's a game changer. That's a game changer, using data analytics, for litigation, and analytical work. So things like that. So you see the market has evolved. And so for me, as a fan, it makes me happy when I see the market growing, more solutions coming in. And I will forever push, I will forever talk about it, I will forever, because in as much as it is growing, there's still people who don't know. And so whatever chance I'll get, I will definitely preach on it. And even if this is not your space, even if you don't dream of literally like coming into tech, but just understanding the impact that will have on you as a lawyer, as an attorney, in what you're doing, can be a game changer for you. Because if you understand that, hey, I need to be tech competent. I need to be able to navigate technology in such a way that it's able to efficiently help me. That can be a game changer to you, as opposed to someone who knows nothing, who's used to faxes, who's used to writing things. And I mean, so it's really about understanding where you are and leveraging your knowledge in order to upgrade you to where you want to go.
Is accessing legal tech expensive? Because now I'm thinking, as a lawyer, as an attorney, or a corporate or legal consultancy, I want to access this great tool. I want to cut 90% of the admin work and just focus on, analyzing or predicting the outcome of my cases better. How accessible is it financially for startups and anybody who's interested in it?
It really is dependent on a couple of things. For example, one, it's dependent on the type of solution that you're looking for, because solutions are different, there's SaaS solutions, there's enterprise type solutions that are a bit more customized, that might cost you a bit more because it requires a lot of human capital from let's augment the solution to fit your workflow, to fit how you work. Okay. Whereas if you're talking about SaaS solutions that literally get online off the shelf and you can implement it immediately. So it really depends on your pain points that you're trying to solve wherever you are, and obviously the provider. But right now, with the type of tech where we are, it actually is a bit more accessible as opposed to a couple of years ago, because tech, as it evolves, it becomes a bit more open, and there are also a lot of no-code tools, because I think a lot of people think tech and they think, geez, I need to know how to code, or this is too technical. But there's a whole lot of host of no-code tools available that can be augmented to suit. And even if they're not strictly for the legal industry, you can actually shift it to, augment whatever that you're trying to do.
Interesting. I for one have learned a great deal today. I really hope our listeners as well have found this very useful. So what is next for you, Leah, in general or in legal tech specifically?
Geez, I'm only starting. I legit just only moved to Joburg like a couple of months ago.
Really?
So I honestly can't say, because I know it's going to be huge.
Okay, you can't say. It's one of those. We have to
definitely C-level, because right now I'm head of business development. Definitely C-level at some point. But yeah, man, literally anything is possible with me. I might say this today, and tomorrow you'll see me doing something. You mustn't be shocked, please. I follow my bliss. But definitely it's always something big, because I'm a huge fan of self-development, self-improvement. I'm one of those weird ones, every year you sit back, you look back what you've done, what you've achieved, skill sets, money-wise. Have you improved? Have you increased your net worth? Type of thing. I'm one of those weird ones. And so I'll definitely level up. As to in what way, we won't know,
Yeah, we'll find out.
We'll find out.
All right, we're out of time, Leah, but I just want to thank you on behalf of South African Black Women in Law and Law and Life Matters for all the work you do and for the generosity of your time. We really, really, really see you as a young Black woman, and we thank you for occupying the spaces that you occupy and for sharing with us your knowledge and your skills and your journey today. And we wish you the best in everything that you want to pursue further. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. I had fun. You're a fun host.
Thank you. I want to ask you some other things off this platform, but it's fine. We'll talk about it.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in to Law and Life Matters. Until our next episode, goodbye.